All right, let's just jump right in with a question that sounds, well, kind of crazy. Can a project that's a decade late and 1,400% over budget possibly be called a success? I mean, every traditional rulebook would scream absolutely not. But what if the rulebook is just plain wrong?
Let me show you what I mean. Take the Sydney Opera House. The plan was 4 years and 7 million Australian dollars. The reality? It took 14 years and cost 102 million. By every classic project management metric, this was a complete and utter disaster. And yet, today, it's one of the most iconic, valuable landmarks on the entire planet. Now compare that to a Montreal overpass, built perfectly on time and on budget, a project manager's dream, right? Well, there was one tiny problem. It didn't line up with future bridge plans, and they had to tear it down just a year later.
So, this gets us to the real question we're tackling in this explainer. What does success actually look like? We're going to dig into the new rules of project management, and what you'll see is a huge shift in thinking, away from just, checking boxes and getting things done, and toward getting the right things done.
For decades, project success was all about the iron triangle. You had 3 questions. Was it on time? Was it on budget? And did it deliver what we said it would? It was a very rigid, very predictable way to look at work. But that world has changed, and the profession has had to change with it. We've moved way beyond seeing a project as just a simple plan to be executed.
Because here's the new philosophy. The real goal of any project today, it's all about creating value. That's it. It's a massive shift from focusing on the what to really truly focusing on the why. And to get this, we've got to be on the same page with a few key terms.
Let's build this idea up step by step. First, a project creates an output. An output is the actual thing you make, the new software, the new building, the ad campaign. You can see it, you can touch it. But here's the thing. An output by itself is kind of useless. It has to lead to
An outcome. The outcome is what that output lets you do. So that new software, the outcome is your team is way more productive now. That new building, the outcome is a much better learning environment for students. See the difference?
And that outcome, you guessed it, delivers a benefit. This is the real, measurable gain the organization gets. So that increased productivity, the outcome, leads to a benefit of, say, higher profits. That better learning environment leads to a benefit of improved test scores. And all of this builds up to the final, most important piece.
Value. Value is the ultimate worth of the whole thing. It's the grand total of all those benefits minus what you spent to get there. This is the new true north for project success.
And what's so critical to understand is that value isn't just about dollars and cents. Of course, you've got tangible value, things like profitability, market share, but intangible value is just as important, sometimes more so. We're talking about brand recognition, employee well-being, public goodwill, all that good stuff.
So, the bottom line is this. Value is now the ultimate success indicator. It's the driver. Every single decision, every plan, every action you take should be guided by one question. Does this get us the most value we're aiming for?
Okay, so to make this happen, project managers need a totally new mindset. Think of the new principles not as a rigid map with turn-by-turn directions, but more like a compass that guides your behavior and helps you make the right call, no matter what pops up.
This mindset is really all about how you show up to the work. It means being proactive, looking around the corner for challenges instead of just waiting for them to hit you. It means taking real ownership and being accountable for the results. And, you guessed it, it means being relentlessly, obsessively focused on creating value. This way of thinking changes everything.
2 principles are absolutely central here. The first is to adopt a holistic view. This means you stop seeing a project as just a long checklist of tasks. Instead, you see it as a living, interconnected system. You're always asking, how does a change here affect everything else? And how does this whole project fit into our bigger company strategy?
And the second principle, which we keep coming back to for a reason, is to focus on value. Every choice you make from the first day of planning to the last day of execution has to be checked against the business goals. If a task isn't contributing to the value you're trying to create, you have to seriously ask why you're even doing it. So how do you actually put this value-driven mindset into practice? Well, it starts by admitting that not all projects are created equal. You have to move away from rigid one-size-fits-all methods and embrace a more flexible approach, where you pick the right path for the job at hand.
This brings us to a whole spectrum of ways to get work done.
On one end, you have predictive methods. You might know this as waterfall. These are fantastic when you know exactly what you need to build and things aren't likely to change. On the other end, you have adaptive methods, like agile, which are built for uncertainty and allow the project to evolve as you learn more.
This is a great way to think about the trade-offs. In a predictive waterfall world, the scope, what you're building, is fixed. So if something goes wrong, you have to stretch your time or your budget. But in an adaptive, agile world, you flip that triangle. Time and cost are fixed. Think of a 2-week sprint. So what can change? The scope. You just focus on delivering the most valuable stuff you possibly can within that fixed box of time and money.
But here's the key. It's not a simple either-or choice. The truth is most modern projects live somewhere in the middle. They use a hybrid approach that blends the stability of prediction with the flexibility of adaptation. The real skill is figuring out the right blend for your specific project.
Okay, let's zoom all the way out now to the real big picture. Because once you start focusing on value, you have a light bulb moment. You realize that projects aren't just isolated tasks on a to-do list. They are the very engine that turns an organization's high-level strategy into reality.
Think of it like this. An organization's strategy flows down from senior leadership. That strategy gets organized into portfolios, basically big buckets of investments. Those portfolios are broken down into programs and then finally into individual projects. The projects are where the work actually gets done, creating those outputs that deliver value right back into the day-to-day operations of the business. It's a full circle.
This whole interconnected loop has a name. It's called a system for value delivery. It's basically the entire machine an organization uses to make sure that every single bit of work being done, from the tiniest task to the biggest program, is directly helping achieve its most important strategic goals.
And that, right there, is why this matters so much. Effective, value-focused project management isn't just some administrative chore to keep things on track anymore. It has become a core strategic competency. It's literally how modern organizations innovate, compete, and win. So, as we wrap up, I'll leave you with a final thought to take back to your own work. The next time you're starting a project, ask yourself this. Are we just focused on building an output, or are we truly deeply focused on creating lasting value? Because the answer to that one question, well, it changes everything.